That's alright, I'll give you that.
Cheers.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, cheers, mate. How tall is Bill?
Not much taller than me, I don't think. Do you want me to stand there? Hello.
Hey, mate.
You bring your wallet?
We could all go in, get the cheapest one. Well, that wasn't me, I didn't get that one.
You didn't make nothing. You didn't died. Because my dad had a horse and it ran into a fence and they had to put it down. It never even got out of the bloody paddock. That was dirty. Imagine that just... I wouldn't do that home, though. Watching a horse and tell me what.
Yeah. Yes. Fine. Mildred? The livestock people would love us to be away from looking at the marquees.
Good.
Don't make me put my
If you give us a shares and a horse, then...
Oh, actually, mind if I take mine?
Sweet as, bro. Just tell me where.
Oh, wherever you want to.
Hey, alright? How's things?
Yeah, good.
So you're out here buying a horse, are you?
Yep. Yeah. Will be millions of
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, there's a couple of cars in there.
Yeah. I worked for 3 years.
Yeah. Just ride out on your horse. See you later. You just ride in there with it.
Hey, as you drive in, the main sort of turn area at the front there, the sort of golf course and horses, just to the right of that as you walk in. Okay, bye.
there, big dog.
Well, you, me, Winston, that's 3 brown people here. The only brown.
The rest of them are exactly. She's around. Oh.
She needs to ask the question why the whole thing.
He's got us in the right thing.
All good?
Look up.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take what we can.
Well, look at the last place you get hookups, right?
I'm pretty sure we'll do last place.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just here to announce today that I am running as the leader of my own party for
What's it
Prime
called?
Minister this year. It's called
What's
the Jenna
yours?
Lich's fucking awesome party.
Wow. I hope you guys are rolling on that.
What?
I'm with you.
Well, you guys going to be able to live up to that policy?
Absolutely.
Hey,
Absolutely.
you're
Are they in your way?
Can I use your
I'll just stand
battery
right.
thing as a white balance?
I'll be so tight anyway. Just jump on it.
Yeah.
Hey, Harley,
G'day. Good little bit of technology there.
From the Christmas party?
Probably.
I think so, yeah.
Sorry, that is just awesome. You know what dumb is that? Mate, Rebecca Roach Cricket is second presenter. It's like now.
That's not going to last.
That won't, because America's going to
It's very.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What exactly nothing. Stuff that's not current. Do you know? Well, can I get that
Check it on the top of mine, so it'll.
Oh, yeah.
Does that work okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I just have to be able to press the button.
Sorry.
When it
Stop
comes.
moving.
Cool, thank you.
Oh,
It's got makeup on that.
That'll work.
yeah, thanks a lot.
Sorry, Lloydie.
Can I do that?
Yep, great. I'll just press there.
And then when we got to the airport, we were checking the bags and no bags. So it cost us $120 on the bags.
Oh, I never paid it. You can go through the app. Before you check in, go through the app and add bags and it only costs you $10.
Really?
Yeah.
It cost us $120 this morning.
They helped me do that once. The guys at the baggage company were like, no, no, don't pay us.
Sure, we should have asked.
Do it through the app.
That's great.
Sorry, I couldn't help this time.
No, didn't.
But next time it will. That's why you got one of these around. Never travel without a battery pack. Never.
How are you travelling?
Great.
I'm the coach. I just have to do audio.
one shot? Yeah. Here? I'm going to have to move anyway to go and turn my phone on.
Yeah. Years around.
Okie dokie.
Hey, what's your son's name?
Sterling.
Sterling. Come here a minute. Look what I found.
Yeah, I got this back as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
one of the new ones,
Snack.
eh?
You do a selfie.
I didn't do a selfie. I got someone else's face.
Well, today.
I don't know what it is.
But,
I like that.
around.
A selfie would have made it even better.
Hey,
Tweet it, but it's like I'm taken from here.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 Perfect. Cool.
And actually not enough to know it.
No, I noticed he
Wouldn't
was.
happen here.
Yeah, well, but nobody's saying it would.
Let's go on the cricket. You know? Audrey,
What?
you following the cricket?
Am I fun? No, I'm not. Are you?
Is anybody following the cricket? Has anybody got a score?
No.
Australia versus New Zealand.
You're fine there. Plenty of room.
Oh, good. You need two. One's for the camera, one's for the... Oh, right.
Yeah, I do.
Good money there. Yeah, we are.
Did you see Winston? How is it? How is it?
Got the first lecture of the year, so that was nice.
Is he here?
Yeah.
Yeah. First of many.
It's a young kid eating chips. Yeah.
Oh, I chopped him.
Highlight.
Yeah. Just doing a package of wickets lost.
You're not out, right? You're out.
No.
So Neil Broom, Jimmy Nish Maroon,
178.
178 for 5 in the 32nd over.
Good balance.
Guptill on 61 is the highest. Williamson 24. Taylor 16. Brooms on 16. Munro got 2. Nisham on 31.
I don't know who's the winners is, but he's got 3 overs, 3 wickets.
You buy one?
I think I might bring my foot crawler.
No. I wouldn't mind.
93 thought I'd crawl.
What about you? You?
She had a one last week.
Media arrange.
Is cricket on? We want to go through more?
You calling it Audrey?
I dare you.
Good day for him anyway. Why didn't you tell us to put money on obsidian? Never know. Oh, did she?
We're playing a spy game. We're at to try spy on him.
Only good questions though, mate. Just tell me what you look like. Only good questions there.
Gotta get used to that Harley because it's.
What's the attitude?
What about what's it doing?
I don't know everything. No, don't. No, they still don't know. I'll never know. I'll take it to the grave. That pigeon though. Like a cartoon with the fellow getting blown up.
Yeah.
Have you heard of those rules?
Yeah.
What one?
The one on the bottom.
That one?
Yeah.
That one?
So did you buy it today? I just do it over the top.
No, I just came up from the front. Yeah, so when I'm there, complain. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There's another one on computer, Irina, with a PR, and they get through to the so they should put the box up there saying,
Gonna make a couple of bucks. If it's okay with your father, if I give you a ticket, can you run to that tent and get my pack?
Oh, yeah.
Pack, a purple pack. And it's got a little microphone in it.
Dad.
Free market work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep, I'm right here. I'm standing with David going out to all, but he's on his way. No, I just got told from Sam to just some audio, so I'll take some audio and then some audio. But I don't know how to Facebook Live though. Okay, alright. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Good to see some of you finally got back to work.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah.
Did you have a good holiday, Barry?
Other than being burgled in Cape Town and almost robbed in Johannesburg, yeah. It's good.
Right. Okay, well, we've had a nice quiet time in that case.
Yeah.
So you're going to go, you're all going to go and have a look at the horses?
Were you tempted?
Sorry.
No temptation.
Prime Minister, on the so-called Muslim ban that's on Trump enforced, how are you feeling about it?
I think it's important that any refugees or migrants who come to New Zealand are welcome, and it doesn't matter where they come from. Even if they come from a troubled country, they're welcome here, and we are satisfied we have a system that ensures that people who may be a real risk to New Zealand aren't able to get through, but everyone else who's here is welcome. We wouldn't implement the kind of policy that's being implemented, and we don't agree with it.
Why don't you criticise it?
What's that?
Why don't you criticise the Trump policy?
Well, I just have.
Well, no, in a roundabout way. I mean, we're not talking about New Zealand. We're talking about what's happening in the United States. And a number of other leaders, in particular Justin Trudeau, have been very critical. Why has New Zealand been so meek in this?
Oh, we're not being meek at all. Look, President Trump's got to deal with his own issues and his own election promises. We don't agree with the policy. We've yet to see just what turns out to be the long-term policy for the US, because this is a temporary measure. But in the same way as other leaders have indicated, we welcome our refugees and migrants wherever they come from. We're not going to discriminate amongst them in this sort of way, depending on what country they come from. And when particularly our refugees come here, we now invest a lot of support in ensuring that they can integrate into the New Zealand community.
So you're saying Donald Trump's policy is wrong?
Well, we disagree with it. It does appear to have created some real chaos in the short term. And in time we'll see what the permanent policy is.
Will you condemn the policy?
Well, I just have. We disagree with it.
Prime
What
Minister, will you
is
agree?
it
Specifically that you disagree with about the policy? Why don't you like it?
Well, we wouldn't implement a policy like that which discriminates among refugees or migrants as to which country they come from. It's not the New Zealand way.
Is he being a bigot?
Well, that's for others to decide. I mean, he's made election promises, got issues in the US that the elected representatives there will deal with. It's not our job to tell them how to run their country, but we can state clearly what our view is, which is that we welcome migrants and refugees from any country, and we're satisfied that we have processes to make sure people with really extreme views that wouldn't fit in here don't get in. And we support those who come here more comprehensively than most countries.
Will you raise it with him when you speak to him in the next few days?
Well, we've yet to see whether we'll be speaking to him in the next few days. But look, I would expect to raise any issue that has an impact on New Zealand in our interests.
Does that mean that you will raise that issue?
Well, we've yet to see whether there's a conversation and how that conversation goes. But part of the point of this kind of conversation with the President would be to discuss issues with him where they affect New Zealand.
Do you have any plans on visiting Washington? Do you have any plans on visiting Washington this year?
No, I don't at the moment.
Are you concerned about maintaining good relations with the Trump administration?
Look, we've got a long, deep relationship with the US. I don't have any doubt about our ability to maintain good relationships with the US. I think we need to, we respect their democratic process in the same way that we would expect the US to respect our processes. But this is an issue where we've got a clear point of view, and we just don't agree with the policy.
Are you worried about being too critical of the policy?
Oh no, I don't. No, I'm not concerned about that. I think what matters here is more the job we do with the refugees who come here, and the way that the New Zealand community does welcome people no matter where they come from. And we have a good track record in that respect.
Would you consider increasing our quota to compensate for the ban, like Canada has offered?
Well, we've yet to see what the permanent policy is. The quota here has just increased by 30%. So this year we'll have 1,000 refugees come in. We spend around about 100,000 per refugee each year because these are people who've had often quite traumatic backgrounds, and they need assistance with housing, with language, with becoming employable. We've just extended the Mangere Refugee Centre, in fact rebuilt it, precisely so that we can handle these kinds of numbers. So our focus is on doing a good job with people who come here, because in fact that's the best way to maintain the broad support of the public for a growing refugee intake.
What do you make of New Zealand's initiative report that says that by and large immigration is good for New Zealand?
Well, look, I think that's pretty much accords with the views of most New Zealanders. We have a growing economy. It's important that we build the infrastructure that's going to support that growth. Migrants are a part of the growth, but a fair bit of it is actually just the success of the New Zealand economy. And in fact, the biggest change in population in New Zealand is New Zealand is not leaving for Australia, which is a real indication of success.
Hey, what do you think? What do you think about the way Trump's policy has been enacted? It seems pretty badly thought out.
Well, it does seem to have created some real chaos in implementation. That'll probably work itself through. I think the more important question is what conclusions will they come to at the end of this 3-month period, what kind of system they're going to put in place, because that's what will determine the impact on these big people movements, particularly out of the Middle East. And whatever decisions they make there will have some effect on us.
Wouldn't it be a powerful piece of symbolism if New Zealand lifted its quota, even marginally?
Well, look, I don't see the case for that right now. As I said, we've yet to see how this US policy flows out. Our focus is on doing a good job with the big increase that's coming through our system now. So we've gone from 750 to on top of that, these extra 500 people from Syria over the next couple of years. And we have a strong focus on our refugee strategy, which is ensuring they get sufficient support that they can integrate successfully here with language, with employment, with kids' education.
Isn't it callous by President Trump banning people from the very country, Syria, that needs acceptance most?
Well, look, there'll be all sorts of opinions about what's driving it. All I'm saying is we don't agree with the policy, we wouldn't implement it, and we hope that by the time they get through this 3-month period, that they sort out a policy that's not going to have too big an impact on us, but reflects the traditional US values in welcoming people there.
Would you support a migration levy?
Well, look, it's an interesting idea, a new one. I think the bar for any new levy is pretty high, that if you're going to bring in a new levy or tax, it's got to be a very good reason for it. There'd have to be a lot of discussion before we get to that point. But we certainly are committed to building the kind of the infrastructure that supports the growth in population, some of which comes from migration. So, in Auckland over the next couple of years, there's going to be 9 new schools built. And we've already announced 5 of them. Well, we have to keep up with that. Keep in mind here the biggest change in population is Kiwis not leaving, which is something we're pretty keen on.
So do you think we need to restrict our migration numbers?
Well, they are restricted. I mean, people have to meet criteria. We've just tightened the criteria somewhat to ensure that we're getting the skills that we need. And that's quite a difficult task, actually. It's not that easy to match up the skill shortages with people coming in, but we've now got a better system, particularly now that we've invested an awful lot in IT systems at the border and in immigration. We've got a better chance now to target our intake a bit.
How hopeful are you of a?
Will you not even look at doing doubling?
No, we're not considering doubling the quota. I mean, it's been lifted by 30% as we speak. So we've got over the next couple of years 500 extra refugees coming in. So alongside the strong and comprehensive support for those refugees, we're going to be piloting community sponsorship of refugees. So that certainly does allow for some growth. We're not completely ruling it out. I think we should keep an eye on how this US policy evolves over the next 3 to 6 months. But we are committed to not discriminating, to do a very good job for those who do come here.
How hopeful are you that the Americans may look at a free trade deal? How hopeful are you that the Americans may now, because of TPP, look at a free trade deal between them and us?
Well, look, the initial statements are that they want to do bilateral trade deals. They've also made some statements that indicate doing those deals could be a bit of a challenge, given the kind of terms that they've discussed. So we would be optimistic about taking forward any interest they have in free trade, because that works for New Zealand. But I think it'll take some time before it's clear just how the administration there would frame deals, because there needs to be benefits in it for New Zealand.
Can I just clarify what you said about increasing the quota of refugees? Are you saying you'll keep an open mind to increasing it this year, especially with the possibility of community sponsorship?
Well, the community sponsorship would allow for some increase. We've got to pilot that because it's quite when you look at the scale of government support for these refugees, which is around, in a given year, around $100,000 each for each person, and that can go for 2 to 3 years, then you're asking a lot of the community to be able to provide that kind of support to a refugee family. So that's why we want to try it out, because it appears to have been successful in some other places like Canada. So we're trying it out on a small scale. So I don't want to give you the impression that could lead to some big increase, but if it's successful, it could lead to some increase.
Prime Minister, on the ban, would you support New Zealand citizens who are have dual citizenship with some of the countries in the ban?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by support. We haven't had any reports that there are Kiwis who would, for whom we'd have some responsibility, caught up in these circumstances, but we'll certainly be looking out for them.
If they show up in America though and they're turned away, would you defend them?
Well, we would meet our obligations to our citizens, there's no doubt about that, regardless of what other citizenship they have. But those sort of cases haven't come to our notice at this stage.
What would be your advice to anyone that does have dual citizenship and is looking at going to the States at the moment? Would you say go for it, or maybe just hold back?
Well, look, they'll make up their own mind. I think as it becomes a bit clearer what the policy actually is, there may be a bit less concern, but as far as we're concerned, our policy's clear. If they've got dual citizenship, they're welcome here, and whether they're refugees or migrants, or wanting to stay or wanting to move on.
What do you think of the broadcasting bill, the Games of National Significance? Will you be putting your support behind it?
I think is this the New Zealand First proposal? Oh no, look, we're happy enough with the settings the way they are. The sports need revenue. TV's a pretty important part of that revenue, and we wouldn't be trying to change it.
You said something at Ratana that's been repeated, used to criticise you by many opposition leaders, that the government has done just about as much as it can do. Can you expand on that? What did you mean by it?
I think what I said was that the government's gone about as far as it can with its traditional type of solutions. The big government department with an ever-increasing budget pretending it knows answers to everything. And that is the kind of policies, if the opposition parties announced any policies, which they didn't this week, that's the kind of policy they're going to come up with, just more of the same, which is, in my view, has reached its limits. Government now has to work much more closely with those in the community who understand, particularly our most disadvantaged families, who can influence them close at hand. And there's iwi, there's churches, there's family, there's the community around them, and you'll see more of that tone coming from this government.
What do you have to say to Muslims living here in Aotearoa who are aggrieved by the ban?
Oh, we can understand their concern, and we would not implement that kind of policy, and we would not want. We'd want those citizens of New Zealand, those members of our community, to know that they are welcome here, that whatever international discussion is going on, they're part of our community, we support them, they add to us, and they know that they're here. We know that they're here because they see New Zealand as a good place to be, and our policy is not going to be affected by what's going on offshore.
Muslim leaders here in Aotearoa are saying that this ban will promote hatred towards Muslims. What do you say to that?
I don't think that'll happen in New Zealand. New Zealanders are fair-minded people. The Muslim community fits in here. It plays its part. It's supporting the recent migrants and refugees where that's relevant, because we get refugees who aren't Muslims from all around the world. So I don't think that'll happen here.
Mr. Peters says the border controls around those refugees coming in have been too lax, and we've opened ourselves to a terror threat. Do you think there's any substance to that?
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, there's always the possibility. and so we're not complacent. But I think the combination of the way the refugee program works, where the UN go to the camps and they work out who's suitable for New Zealand, and then with our agreement, those people come here. Also with our own security and border control arrangements, we're doing as much as we can to minimise the risk. You can never say it's not there. That's always been the case in New Zealand, not just in the last few years. It's always been the case that there's a potential for domestic threats of some sort going back 40, 50 years. There's been different definitions of what that threat would be. But no, we're not complacent. I think we believe the current controls are effective, but we're always on the lookout and working with others, including other countries, to protect New Zealand.
Are you going sorry, just quickly, on that Games of National Significance bill, Winston is going to make that an election promise if that private member's bill doesn't go through. Could you work with him on that as part of a coalition, bottom line? We're not doing any negotiating with anyone about anything at the moment. You know, we're just going to focus on winning an election, and I'm sure there'll be, you know, the opposition parties are pretty short on policy from what we can see. There's not much coming through, so it makes this one look a bit more significant than it actually is.
When are you going to announce the election date?
Oh, before too long.
So it's imminent, or
this week?
Yeah, before too long.
Are you going to the cricket?
I'm not going to the cricket as far. No, I'm not.
So why did you come here instead of going to the cricket?
Oh, this has been a bit of a long-standing engagement for the last Prime Minister. Racing industry, about 50,000 people connected with it. It's got some potential for growth, particularly export growth, and so it's nice to be able to come along and support them. This is one of their premier days of the year, and these are people who work very hard. I mean, their horses only get here because, in fact, a lot of young New Zealanders are getting out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and doing the job. And it's great to be able to celebrate a bit of success and achievement with an industry that works extremely hard and has got some challenges.
What did you talk to Brendan McCullum about? The cricket or horsing?
Well, I have to say he's more of an expert on both of those matters than I am.
You looking to buy a horse yourself?
No, not looking to buy a horse.
No.
They look pretty expensive to me, I have to say. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Minister Guy, do you have any time for 2 quick questions?
Yeah, on
about
what?
Peter Field?
Yep.
Let's get my cameraman.
Yep.
Is that all right?
Sorry. You want to go and make
Sorry.
a Prime Minister?
Sorry. Can we just... oh, maybe you can just... Come over here, Minister Guy. My hands are shaking. It's hard work holding microphones all the time. You all good? What were your thoughts behind granting Peter Field citizenship?
Well, it was 5 to 6 years ago, and the decision that I made, in my view, was the right one. It was backed by officials. Of course, he'd had residency for a long period of time, 5 years plus, and I felt with his good character and the contribution that he was going to make to New Zealand, and indeed has made, that he's suitable and worthy of being a fantastic New Zealand citizen.
So what were the exceptional circumstances?
Well, it's not my file to release. The Department of Internal Affairs are working their way through that, and I'm sure later on this week they'll be releasing it, and then everyone will be able to understand those exceptional circumstances.
Did you perform the citizenship ceremony?
No, I didn't.
You talk about the contribution he's made. Does it come down to money and what you can provide the country?
Well, there's exceptional circumstances. They're pretty well understood. On a case-by-case basis, they come up to the Minister. The Minister reviews these cases, and there's about 300 per year, and takes advice from officials. Obviously takes some time to consider it, like I did in this particular case and all the other cases that I grant citizenship.
So how long did it take, though? What are the processes?
Well, the processes are, there's a very thorough file that's gathered, there's supporting documents, there's a legal process that goes on, and then it comes up to the Minister to make those decisions under exceptional circumstances. Mr. Teal is a fantastic ambassador and salesperson for New Zealand. He's well connected in America, and regardless of whether he's a supporter of the Trump administration or not, he has done a lot for New Zealand, and we welcome individuals like this into our country.
Can you buy citizenship?
No, you can't.
Do you remember signing that citizenship now?
No, that's 5+ years ago. No, I don't.
You don't remember seeing Peter Thiel's name and going, oh, I'm signing citizenship for Peter Thiel?
I signed, like every minister, about 300 applications a year that come up to the minister. There's a very thorough process. I remember some, I don't remember all of them. We're talking 5 years ago. At times I struggle to remember what I did or what I signed 5 months ago. I think that's fair and people would understand that.
He's quite a high-profile person, though.
Oh, he's become more high profile than since 2011. He's made an outstanding contribution to the New Zealand society, particularly with his venture fund. He supported a lot of small businesses that probably wouldn't have got going any other way. So he's got great reach into the Silicon Valley, wonderful supporter of New Zealand, and we should be proud to have a person like Peter Thiel as a citizen of New Zealand.
Do you think the criticism of it is fair, or do you think it's just because he is a Trump supporter?
Well, I think it really has just popped up in mainstream media because of the Trump administration recently, where he's obviously showed his colours. But it comes back to a fundamental point in my view. There's a very thorough process that goes on, a very thorough file, recommendation put to the minister by officials. Ministers weigh up those decision points that they need to make. In this particular case, I'm very relaxed that I granted him citizenship. He's made a wonderful contribution to New Zealand, and I'm sure will continue to do so.
If that file ended on your desk today, would you sign it?
Well, different circumstances right now, but obviously you'd need to have a look at all of the facts sitting in behind that file. I mean, that's a bit of a hypothetical because ministers make decisions all the time about citizenship, and it's on a day-by-day basis, a case-by-case one.
And do you think that effectively there is any point to the Overseas Investment Act when there is this massive loophole there?
Well, I don't consider it's a loophole because we welcome citizens from other countries into New Zealand. And in this particular case, obviously the file stacked up and the individual stacked up in terms of good character, his philanthropic, his business connections, a great friend and ambassador of New Zealand. We should be welcoming having individuals like Peter Thiel as a citizen of New Zealand.
Why has Peter Thiel got citizenship and it doesn't appear so far that James Cameron has yet?
You'd need to go and ask James Cameron whether he's applied or not. I can't comment on individuals. I'm not the Internal Affairs Minister. Thanks, team.
Thanks very much.